So welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Tiffany Mack. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Recruitics, and I'll be your host today as we discuss the video advantage, maximizing candidate engagement for your employer brand. So first, just a few housekeeping notes. We want to let you know that our Senior Marketing Manager, Shannon O'Shea, will be supporting us both with the Q&A section as well as at the end of the presentation. So you can submit any questions you might have about recruitment videos into the Q&A box at any point in time. Secondly, you can also ask questions anonymously or upvote or give a thumbs up to the questions that others have submitted if you're interested in hearing the answer to those questions or having our presenters answer those questions live. Now, this presentation will be recorded, so if you need to step away or leave early for any reason, or you want to come back and take a look, you will be receiving the follow-up recording for this presentation early next week. So with that, I want to say again, welcome, 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 and give you a quick intro about Recruitics. So we are an AI-powered, data-driven recruitment marketing firm that makes it easy to attract and convert great talent. We partner with the world's leading brands, accelerating their ability to be able to attract and hire top talent. And that's really where we excel. We have over 400 clients, and honestly, we're your fave's fave when it comes to fulfilling their needs. We have nearly 300 curious and brilliant personalities around the world who call Recruitics their professional home. And now I have the esteemed privilege of introducing to you today's presenters. So first we have Jillian O'Malley. She is our Vice President of Brand and Creative Development. And then we have Jonathan Zilla, who is our Executive Vice President of Job Advertising and Analytics Programs. And so today let's talk about what we're going to be talking about. First, we're going to get into the what, the why, and the how of recruitment videos. So we'll start with discussing a few insights and considerations. And then after a case study, we're actually going to have a live demo. And I know you've probably heard this before, but this is not something you want to miss. You definitely want to see that. Then we'll get into some best practices on getting good video content and get into some questions. So first, we're going to start with why recruitment videos matter. But before we get into that, I actually have a question for you all. Are you currently using video in your recruitment marketing strategies? We're so interested and so curious to know, so please let us know in the polls. Today we have 3 questions for you, and this is the first one. Are you currently using video? Some people are a little scared to use it. Some people say they actually don't have enough time. And some feel like, well, they kind of have to because they've seen such a great response from it. So we're really interested in seeing today what you do. Are you using video or are you not? All right, so as we go ahead, I'm going to give it over to Jillian, and she's going to get us started talking a little bit more about the evolving talent landscape.
Great. Thank you, Tiffany. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Jay-Z. Excited to get started with you and talking about video in recruitment marketing. So, what we just want to talk about to start with is the evolving talent landscape and the rise of video. So I'm sure we're all familiar with just how much video consumption has come into our lives over the past few years. It is massively increased year over year in terms of how people are engaging with video and how brands are using video. And what that's really done is evolved the overall way that we look at marketing. So specifically, when we start to look at our millennial, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha audiences, millennials and Gen Z are well in the workforce right now. And what we're really seeing is a massive spike in the way that they're engaging with the video and the way that they're using video to make decisions, not just in terms of their consumer needs, but also in terms of the ways that they are approaching their choice in career and their choice in employer. For instance, 45% of all job seekers, which includes millennials and Gen Z, are far more likely to apply to a job if they can find videos about the company. But even more specifically, 80% of Gen Z job seekers watch videos to learn about potential employers and job roles. And what we need to think about when we think about the Gen Z audience, this is going to be the largest workforce coming in out of any generation. So this is a significant leap in terms of how video consumption is being considered. And this is really why now is the time when we look at the age of Gen Z. The youngest are, finishing up high school right now. And so they're going to start coming full force into the workplace any given day. This is why now is the right time to really talk about video when it comes to recruitment marketing.
Boy, and this elder millennial certainly falls into that category of consuming a lot of mobile video content. But this is the trend we've seen, right? For so many years, it's been hovering at about 50-50 of where applications are completed. Everything's moving to the phone, 67% of job applications completed on a mobile device. So this video content that Jillian just showcased, it's driving the recruitment process to places that we've not been before. And so we want to start thinking about how job seekers are using mobile devices. And that begins from the search, 90% searching on their mobile device, to really the output. They are 3 times more likely to view a video on their mobile device than they are on a desktop. So think about, the way your brain thinks. We can all use the dinner table conversation I've had about how my teenager is going to survive these TikTok, times. But that mobile usage is driving a new behavior that we can really take advantage of for the greater good on job search and talent acquisition.
That's so true, Jay-Z. I'm the same way, also an Oregon Trail millennial over here. And we know that, it's true that we just live on our phones, but we're also just living in regards to how we consume media and how we consume video specifically. So I think, we have talent acquisition professionals on this webinar right now. It is no secret to any of you that recruitment marketing is always a few years behind consumer marketing. That's been a very common, kind of look at the way things evolve. And what we know is that consumer marketing has leaned heavily, especially just in the last 5 years or so, into the use of video to drive their brand awareness, their brand perception, and their consumer needs. So now is really the time for recruitment marketing to start gearing up into that same way as well. So when we look at the growing importance of recruitment videos, what we know is that looking at talent acquisition professionals like yourselves, 80% have said that video has helped increase the overall application volume that they're seeing. So whether that's job description videos, whether that's videos that sit on top of their media that are driving to career sites, they know that it's increasing their application volume. Not only that, 78% of talent acquisition professionals have said that video has helped increase the quality of their applicants. So not just the number of applications you're getting in, but better fit applicants are coming through as a result of engaging with video, with your employer brand, and with your recruitment marketing needs. And finally, what that has kind of led to is 85% of professionals reporting that investing in video, whether that's through brand awareness, whether that's through specific hiring needs and hiring campaigns, video content has produced an incredible ROI for their organization. We know that video is a great investment. We know that that is the way that kind of the landscape of media engagement is moving. And now is the time. It's a really great time to get invested in video. So now we've talked a little bit about why, right? So we want to dive into the overall benefits of videos. What are some of the ways specifically when it comes to recruitment marketing and when it comes to employer brand that video is really going to boost everything that we're looking for? So starting with the benefits of using video in recruitment specifically. Video gives us a unique opportunity to create dynamic and engaging content for our candidates that you just can't get through written copy, and images. It's a way to showcase company culture. It's a way to showcase values. It's a way to showcase what your company truly looks like in a way that is a lot more immersive and that is a lot more memorable and authentic to your candidates, which is going to create that very unique connection that we really want to see with our candidates. So starting with some of the key benefits, the first thing it does, it increases candidate engagement. Video content is captivating, it's immersive, and it creates a far better engagement than any other type of medium that we've seen before. It also has a great ability to boost our overall conversion rates. Videos lead to a higher conversion, whether that's on media, whether that's on one of your owned media channels, because they communicate your employer brand in a much more vivid and much more sort of humanized way. It also, as we talked about before, it improves our applicant quality. When a candidate is watching a video about your organization and they're watching a video about what a day in the life of this particular role that they're interested in looks like, when they're watching a video about your company culture and they're starting to picture themselves in that, and they're starting to identify whether your company is a good fit for them or not, that's going to lead to an increase in the quality of your application because they're already identifying, this is the place for me, I'm going to be a good fit here, and this company's going to be a good fit for me. What it also does is it just elevates your employer brand. Your employer brand is everything that's around you. It's who your company is at its core. And it can be hard sometimes to translate all of those sort of intangible qualities just through, like I said, copy and imagery. Video gives us a much more immersive and a much more engaging experience to tell that story and to create that connection back to our candidates. And overall, what it does is it just enhances the overall candidate experience as they're going through the pipeline, as they're engaging with your organization.
So let's double click on engagement that Jillian talked about. Video job ads have an increased click-through rate when they've got a video evident on the job. In addition, the engagement is off the charts. Folks want to engage that content. They're likely you're going to boost your text content on that page as well because they're engaging with that video that's keeping them around, maybe in their mind going, wait, let me go find some more stories here. Let me connect with this brand a little bit more. And that leads to the next part that Jillian covered, conversion. So a 34% higher candidate conversion rate where video is at use in their recruitment process. But this also means that you're getting candidates to opt in or opt out. So remember, video can be a way for you to help get to that quality metric, that elusive quality that we're all after, because it can give candidates a real sense of what the position is, what the company culture is. They can really start to feel it, as Jillian so well articulated earlier. And what this goes into is that applicant quality. When you start giving job seekers a way to engage beyond just the requirements and the education, they retain that message. They internalize that message. Now, hopefully none of you have made the mistake that I have. You watch an incredible TikTok video, later that day, you're sitting with a friend and you try and describe the video because you can't find it, right? That one that you loved. There's a reason that happens, right? The video content is so compelling and it's so memorable to us, but it doesn't translate when you try and just tell that story because you're feeling it, you're experiencing it, you're remembering it. So this helps get to that quality, and this is quality even past the application. Sure, we're getting to better application events because folks understand what they're getting into a bit more than they would without video. But we're seeing this lead to higher retention rates, productivity improvements, where folks really are going, I know what I'm getting into, and I've already gotten a video from my hiring manager, or I've already seen a little bit of a day in the life of this customer support position that I just applied for. And it can really drive great outcomes even post application.
That's so great, JZ. And, you know, the idea about retaining from video is so crucial. Hopefully there's no one on this webinar that knows me in personal life, because then you'll know if I say I read an article, it meant I watched a TikTok. But retaining that video information is key. And that's where it really comes into the employer branding piece as well, because that also means that our candidates are retaining a lot of the information about what your organization is really like. So how does employer branding and the candidate experience come together when it comes to video? Well, when we know what we know about our employer brand work is that it gives us the ability to humanize the organization for our audiences. And we know that video in and of itself allows us to humanize things a lot more. So when you combine those two together, there's a lot of power in the storytelling that we're able to do with video when it comes to our employer brand. Because remember, at the end of the day, the core of your employer brand are the people at your organization, the actual individuals that are responsible for the success and the drivers that have kept your organization moving and going and thriving. So video in and of itself is a great storytelling tool, because we can showcase our value, we can showcase our people, we can showcase what life is really like here. But what it also does, what video does kind of intrinsically at its core, is it allows us to create deeper emotional connections with our audiences. So when we're using it for employer brand purposes, what we're doing is creating a deeper and more immediate emotional connection with our candidates. It's not going to take all the way until they're doing interviews with hiring managers, that they're doing walkthroughs of your facilities to create that connection. It's happening almost immediate from the first engagement they have, because they're engaging through video. So the candidate experience, what we're seeing is that 95% of candidates find videos helpful for gaining insights into company culture. 95. Video is so much a part of our world now. It behooves us to just really use it to drive a lot of the work that we're trying to do in capturing our candidates and creating engagement with our employees. 46% of candidates are more likely to consider a role when a hiring manager records a video. Now think about this. When we look at the ways we sort of traditionally hired, there's a few steps that a candidate has to go through before they're having any kind of human connection, before they're putting names to faces and faces to roles. If a candidate from the very first moment of engagement is watching a video, and they're watching a video of a hiring manager, someone that they are likely to engage with on a day-to-day basis if they take this role, someone that is going to be in some way responsible for their growth and their success at the organization. And from their very first engagement with your company, they're watching a video of that individual talking about the role, talking about the company, talking about the success that they're hoping this candidate can have by applying and potentially getting a job with the organization. That is going to create a much stronger connection, again, from the get-go, and is going to create a much higher likelihood of conversion. What we also know is 64% of job seekers are more likely to apply for a job after they've watched a company video. We have to get company videos in front of candidates because they need to really see with their own two eyes what the company is like and what the potential of their engagement with this company looks like.
Awesome. Thanks, Jillian. So let's move into this kind of next area of considerations that you need to have before you kind of restart your video content creation process. Like some of you, it looks like are already using this, or before you start for the first time. So firstly, you've got to start with goals. You got to say it out loud. You got to write it on the whiteboard. You got to get the folks that are going to come around you and help get this, kind of get this on the big board and moving forward. You've got to get them aligned around goals. What is that emotional connection, as Jillian called it, that you want to connect to, or where do you want to make that connection in your process? Maybe there's a gap in a part of the application process that you've just not been able to solve with traditional recruitment marketing techniques. Maybe there's a part of your interview process that you've received feedback on, that maybe you can insert content here, but what is your goal? What do you want to accomplish? What are you trying to achieve? And what is that core message? I sat around with a roundtable of about 14 CEOs, and they could not understand the power of a story, a video story, in the kind of culture process of joining a company. And so that, kind of getting them to even think about that message that they want to tell was really a big hurdle. So think about your goals. Secondly, think about your budget. Now, this doesn't have to be a high cost venture, but think about what tools you have, what tools you need to purchase, and really what bandwidth your team around you has to create this content. This will require some time, and so you got to think through the opportunities you have internally and externally to get you on the path of creating video content. And then lastly, your audience. Where are you going to put these videos? Where do you want them to live? Where can they really fill in those gaps or really tell those new stories? Where does that audience live online is the question you want to think about when you think about your audience. And if you start with these, you can get to the next technique, which is low production or high production. Now, there certainly is some, disagreement depending on what message you're trying to tell. But the bottom line is that authentic story is what we're trying to get at. And sometimes we can do that in low production, sometimes we can do that in high production, but we want to tell the story. I'll keep telling on myself as it relates to TikTok, but boy, some of you remember early on in 2020, Elise Myers became sort of TikTok famous. And she was just telling us stories about her life, and we just absolutely fell in love with those stories. Now she's gotten more high production as she's become, social media famous. But those raw, authentic stories is what really enamored us with her life and her story. And so high production can bring that to life in a new way. If you think back to Super Bowl ads, which almost had you tearing up, this year, if you remember a couple of those, that's still that authentic story coming with that high production element. And both of these can really be highly effective in your video content journey.
Thanks, Jay-Z. So I just really want to underscore just the value of what you said there about how folks love an authentic story. We have to create meaningful stories for our audience, and we have to know who our audience is to be able to do that. But then that also goes back to some of the things that Jillian was saying earlier about how video actually helps to improve applicant quality. It helps to create that emotional connection. And who knew that it actually also helped to improve the candidate conversion as well. So many good reasons for us to use video. So now we have this question here for the audience. Are you team high production or team low production? So you see in the background, I have my lovely phone set up here. Jay-Z has kind of a little bit of more high-tech things going on. So we're interested in hearing from you. Are you team high tech or team low tech? So we'll see those answers coming through, and hopefully we'll get those posted for you live. And while we're getting those results there, I want to remind you all that you can continue to post any questions you have in that Q&A, and we'll absolutely get to them at the end of the presentation. So go ahead and continue to enter those. And then Shannon, let's see if we can get some of those results there. Thank you so much. Okay, so it's almost split down the middle, but it seems like we're team low production. So really excited to see that. And so now we're going to talk a little bit more about the types of video campaigns that you can have and where to use them.
Great. Thanks, Tiffany. I kind of love the debate between low production and high production. One thing is that we're seeing a lot more low production now with the way that video is being used on social media, but I always kind of think about it in terms of, the differences between documentary and narrative film, right? They're both avenues for telling stories and both avenues for telling very authentic stories. It's just two different ways of using your medium and using video in a way to get your message across to your audience. So that's kind of it's a fun way to think about the difference between the two and why there's not necessarily one better than the other. They just have different uses. But what are some of those uses when it comes to video? So when we look at video campaigns, specifically where to use them, that's sometimes something that can kind of trip people up a little bit. Is I created all this video. What do I do with it? Where do I put it? And where is the right place for different kinds of video? So when we're looking at our video production, we're looking at a few different kind of key places for employer brand recruitment marketing videos to live. The first one, obviously, is social media, not just TikTok and Instagram Reels, but we're seeing LinkedIn, we're seeing Facebook, we're seeing video is key across all of these different platforms. But the way that we engage with videos on those platforms is a little different than other places. So some of the things we want to keep in mind when we're talking about social media video is that we want this to be very snackable, very sort of bite-sized video. 60 seconds or less is really ideal when we're talking about social media video. If any of us remember kind of when TikTok really started taking off, 60 seconds was the length that those videos had to be. So this is really something where you want to create concise storytelling in short form. Social media also gives us the avenue to be a lot more casual in our storytelling. The way that people consume video on social media is different than other places, right? We talk about things like constant scrolling through videos. So there's a lot of consumption of different stories all in sort of one sitting when it comes to engaging on social media. That's why we want to keep it short. That's why we want to keep it snappy. And that's also why we want to keep it more casual. But some of the great ways to use social media, because it is more dynamic and because it's more of sort of a living environment for video, that's where we can do longer tail video stories. So we could do series of day in the life videos. We can do much more thematic content because we're pushing it out over several days. And we can tell a lot more employee stories here. So this is where we really want to get our great employees talking about life at the organization on their own mobile devices or wherever it might be, and sharing them across our social media channels. One of the other great places for video to live is on your career site itself. So this is actually a great place for some of that higher production content to live. The length can be a little bit longer just because of the way people consume video on a career site versus social media. They're going to your career site, they're engaging with you directly. So they're more likely to stay tuned for something a little bit longer and a little more in depth. But what we also know is that career sites are not quite as dynamic as social media. So this is a great place for more of your evergreen content to live. Things like EVP anthem videos, videos about values and culture, anything that's really focused on company storytelling, how your company came about, what your growth has looked like, what your career pathing looks like, things that aren't going to be kind of based on themes and trends, but can kind of live for a while. That's a great place for your career site content to live in your career site videos. And then finally, and I would say, obviously, YouTube. YouTube is a platform strictly for video. So I like to think of YouTube as a great place for your library of everything to be. That's how YouTube can really be treated. Having a company page on YouTube, allowing your short form social video to live there as YouTube shorts, which we all know are just sort of repackaged TikToks and Instagram Reels. The tone can be casual or produced. Again, people are going to YouTube strictly to consume video content. So we know we can be shorter, we can be longer. We can tell our long tail stories there. But the other great thing about YouTube is the ability to organize your content by playlist. So you can have on your company page an entire playlist of day in the life videos, an entire playlist of employee stories, an entire playlist of values-based content. And that's going to allow your candidate to engage and really dive into whatever is important to them as kind of a one-stop shop. So We've talked a lot about why. We've talked a lot about what. Now we're going to get a little bit into the how. We're going to get into some practical applications that we here at Recruitics have seen when it comes to video. So we have a great video case study to share with you. And then Jay-Z is going to give you a little bit of a treat looking at a platform demo of our Jammer, which is our employee generated content video platform. So before we dive into that, I want to walk you through a little bit of a case study and how we have looked at video here at Recruitics. So this is with our client CVS Health. We partnered with them to produce and sponsor video on TikTok. So this was a really exciting proposition for us when it started. It was one of the first lead gen TikTok videos that we've done for recruitment marketing. So this was sort of ahead of its time back when we did this in 2021. CVS came to us and they had a need to staff for a variety of roles. And so what they decided to do was a national career day, but they really needed to get the word out there and get some lead generation moving. So we came to them with the idea of sponsoring ads on TikTok specifically through their lead gen campaigns. We worked with them on developing some content, getting it built out so that it felt unique to the TikTok platform. It felt very sort of very natural to the platform itself. And then we sponsored that content and launched it through the lead gen campaigns that TikTok provides. The content was very authentic in the creative. It spoke to the audience we were trying to get. Again, remember, TikTok is widely Gen Z and millennial audiences with a hiring message and a very clear CTA to get them to a short form to express their interest in this National Career Day. Through this sponsored ad that we ran, we were able to generate 333 leads per month on average for the length of this campaign. That was 35 leads per day on average, with an average cost of $21 per lead. This was a hugely successful campaign. And this was also a great way for us to really start to look at the power of TikTok as another media channel for promoting your brand and for driving hiring leads. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand it over to Jay-Z to talk through a little bit of what Jammer looks like.
Awesome. It's great to see, a case study like that where it produces outcomes that we weren't even talking about a couple of years ago, actual job seeker outcomes of leads. So just incredible. Well, at Recruitics, I want to introduce you to Jammer, our video content solution. And Jammer's real intent is to make creating, sharing, and managing video content easy. And I'm actually going to give you a little sneak peek here. So Tiffany, you can help me out here. I think we're going to transition a little screen share here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll stop that. And while you're getting set up, I wouldn't be marketing if I didn't say that that is actually one of the only case studies that you'll find on the TikTok site. They were really excited about the results that actually came from it. And so they came to us and said, hey, would you do this with us? So as you see, Jay-Z has his screen set up. We debated on if we wanted to give you all the kind of rough and raw, reality of how to do it, but it's just so compelling. We wanted you to see how quick and easy it is for you to do it in real time. So Jay-Z, will go ahead and hand it over to you.
Awesome. So you're looking at the Jammer video content creation side of the portal. So obviously we have a very robust platform on the video management side that we'd love to show you in the future. But this is our video content creation portal. You can see this is just in my Safari browser. Don't worry, it's on Do Not Disturb, so you won't see all those text messages come in. But quickly, this is about asking questions of your employee base to pull out some of those stories, get some of those authentic, emotional connection opportunities to really showcase your brand, your culture, the work that you do. So I'm going to get started here. The beautiful thing about Jammer is that there's no app to download. It can be done through Chrome, Safari, Firefox, whatever browser that you have mobily. We can use the Jammer creation all through that browser. Just need a first name, last name, email address, and job title so we can kind of connect the content to the person for the video manager on the other side to review. Obviously, I've made some videos here, so it remembers me after that first creation. And as Jillian will tell you later, I'm going to break some of the rules, but she'll give you some great tips on getting great video content. And we put a few of these right here in the platform itself. So that first question, what's the best part about working at Recruitics? So click take video, flip that camera around. Recruitics is awesome because I get to join webinars with my awesome colleagues and talk about the power of video. So I've captured it right there on my mobile browser. As soon as I hit use video, you'll see the banner at the top. That's already in our video management software so that we can edit that. We can apply our branded template. We can get that video live on any of those areas we talked about earlier in the presentation and bringing that to life.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, JZ. What I really like about this platform is that once you put that one little line of code on your website, you don't need IT to come in. You don't need to call marketing. It's all there for you, easy and ready to go. So now we're going to hand it over, and Jillian, I believe, is going to pick up and help us a little bit more.
Great. So yeah, you saw how easy Jammer is to use. But a lot of times when we talk about video, people understand the need for it. They understand the power of it. But then comes the question of like, but how do I even do this? How do I make a video that's going to be well received and that's going to be compelling? So we have some good best practices and key takeaways for you when it comes to recording video. And we really are looking at them from pre-production, production, and post-production, because those 3 steps of creating a video are all key for your overall success. So starting with pre-production, the first thing we want to think about is how we plan our content. So, even when we're talking about sort of lo-fi video, when we're talking about just recording something through Jammer or recording something on our phone, even if we're not doing a highly detailed script and storyboard, we still want to understand what the goal of the video is and what are the key points we want to hit on. So creating that plan for your content, whether it is a script or whether it's just a clear outline, it's going to detail all of the things you want to cover off on. It's going to keep you organized. It's going to keep you on task, and it's going to ensure that that content is clear and concise. The other thing we want to think about is the lighting of your video. We don't all have access to professional lighting. We don't all have ring lights. So what we want to look at is really getting in front of natural lighting. That is our best bet for looking as good as we possibly can, because again, we're on video, but also ensuring that you're getting the best possible quality video. So what we recommend is positioning yourself or your subject near a window to take advantage of soft, diffused natural light, as opposed to harsh overhead fluorescence, uplighting, anything that's going to give you those really harsh shadows and lines that are going to be distracting within the video. What we also want to think about and pay attention to is the quality of our audio. This is something that sometimes people forget about. They focus more on the actual video itself and they don't think about the audio quality. They think, I'm just going to capture it on my phone or I'm going to capture it on my computer. But the audio quality can make or break the success of your video. So what you want to do is you want to potentially use an external microphone if you have access to that, or also just ensure that you're in a quiet environment. You don't need to be in a professional recording studio, but turn off the AC and fans, put the dog away, try to be somewhere that's, not a busy Starbucks or whatever it might be, or a place that's going to have a lot of noise. Keep the background noise to a minimum and use an actual real recording device like a microphone when you're creating your videos, just to ensure that that audio is crisp and clear. What you also want to do is frame your shots thoughtfully. So if you look over to the left side of the screen, we have a visualization of what's considered the rule of thirds. This is where we know viewers focus on a screen. They start in the upper left and they work their way down and over to the lower right. So when you're composing your shots, you want to be very careful about where you or your subject is within the screen. You want to have a lot of clean space around you. You don't want to do that extreme close-up that nobody wants to see necessarily. And you want to make sure that people are focusing on the content itself and not on the way that you're recording necessarily. And then finally, the last piece is really about stable footage. Possibly dating myself here, but nobody wants a Blair Witch situation when they're trying to learn about your company and your recruitment marketing. So shaky footage can be incredibly distracting. Using a tripod, using even a selfie stick or something that's going to stabilize your video is going to be great in order to ensure that people are focusing again on you, on the message that you're trying to get across, and not on everything else that's going on around you. So that kind of leads us to the actual production and post-production of a video as well. One of the key things that I can't emphasize enough is keep it short and sweet. You want your message to be quick, you want it to be clear, you want it to be concise. We don't want anyone to ramble too much. We don't want people to get lost in detail and miss your point. This is why creating an outline or a script is really key in pre-production. And you want to think again about how consumable the video is. Keeping it short, making sure your points are being hit on. That's what's going to lead to the success of a video. We also recommend leading with a hook. You watch a lot of these videos, maybe on Instagram Reels, and think about how many of them start with a question to engage the audience. The thing that that's doing when they do that is, if they ask you a question, they've got you as their audience already thinking about the topic that they're now going to espouse on, right? So starting with a question, starting with some kind of fact, some kind of a hook to pull your audience in and to create that kind of captivation is really going to be essential to keep people through the whole video. You also want to be really authentic and you want to be really relatable. When we look at our millennial and Gen Z audiences, right? These are folks that are keenly aware of marketing. They are very savvy when it comes to anything that feels like glossy, overproduced, inauthentic content. That's, unfortunately a company just talking about how great a company is. The way to do that is to really lean into your company's personality, lean into your personality, and talk about the values in, a really honest and transparent and authentic way. That way, we know our candidates are going to engage with it and they're going to see themselves in it a little bit more. It's hard to see yourself in something that feels too glossy or too sort of opaque. You want that transparency and you want that authenticity in order for your candidates to see themselves with your company. And you want to focus on storytelling, right? The beauty of video is that it gives you an opportunity to tell a story in a way that no other medium really gives you that opportunity. So lean into that. Don't just use your video as a way to kind of rattle off a list of things. Lean into the storytelling opportunities, lean into the personality, lean into the ways that we know people like to engage with videos, and give your candidates an opportunity to see themselves in the company. And then finally, the last piece we want to think about is a clear call to action. We're not just putting out videos for the sake of putting out videos. We're putting out videos because there is an action we want our candidates to take, whether that is follow us on our social media channels, whether that is apply for this job on our career site, whether that's sign up for our hiring event. There's always a reason behind our videos. And we want to ensure that we're closing our candidates out with a clear call to action, what we expect from them now that they have consumed this video. So we want to bring them in with a hook. We want to keep them engaged with our content all the way through. And then we want to close them out so that it's very clear to them why we made this video and how we want to continue to engage with them.
Yeah, thank you so much, Julian. I appreciate you mentioning that point about stabilization, because I know people get on us for, the millennial pause. However, there is a such thing as the Gen Z shake, because they're still kind of like setting up their phone while they are already starting to record. So that Blair Witch reference was definitely apropos. even if you have a low production version of whatever content you're producing, it still can be a polished presentation. It doesn't have to look like a scary movie. So the question that we have for you all is, what types of content, video content, are you most interested in exploring? And so you'll see that there in the survey: social media video, career site video. And we saw Jillian talked about that a little bit earlier. Video job descriptions, a very interesting way to really go back to some of those stats earlier about creating more conversions and more quality applicants. And then also we have those YouTube videos that, you know, we're really familiar with. So I'll go ahead and see if we have our responses. And while we get those results, and I just also want to encourage you to remember, you can ask any questions you'd like in the Q&A, and we'll get to those toward the end of the presentation. So, okay, great. A lot of people are into social videos, so TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and then career site videos coming up next. Love to see that there's some interest in video job descriptions as well. So, you know, the type of content that you're interested in exploring is really going to be very relevant when it comes to selecting a vendor and integrating a video technology into your tech stack. So we'll have Jay-Z tell us a little bit more about how we can do that.
Thanks, Tiffany. And boy, if I've heard from my kids, Dad, just search it up on YouTube. One time, I've heard it 1,000. So challenge yourselves. I saw 0 on YouTube, but challenge yourselves to think of what is that library you could start building out there, because you saw the stat, and I'll mess it up on the webinar, but TikTok is becoming a place where searches begin, not just Google anymore. So we got to start thinking about how we, you know, really build some of this content for our audiences to explore. But how do we get that integrated into our world? Well, firstly, you got to look at your tech stack, figure out what tools you have at your disposal. Do you already have a player in your providers that has some video tools? Do you have a video add-on that maybe you can use with one of your providers? And then secondly, think about where are these videos going to live? If it's going to be in your CRM or maybe some email campaigns you're running or your ATS, what integrations already exist that you can take advantage of to get those videos activated and live as soon as the content is ready? And one of the more obvious ones that we've talked about a couple of times, but getting them integrated into your website might be a bit more difficult than your career site, depending on how your marketing operations works. But figure out what's native there. What, can you embed a video? Is a widget like something we talked about with Jammers? That's something that's easier to really embed with one line of code. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about analytics on a Recruitics webinar, because it's really at our core. It's in our DNA. What data do you want to capture as you integrate video into your strategy, or you add it into a new channel, or you run a new campaign? Is it, what happens after they watch a video? Is it, are they engaging with my career site videos? Bring that into the story as you're talking about integrating this. And again, for the 7th or 9th time, mobile is what should be at the forefront. Whatever you're enabling in your tech stack needs to have a mobile first or mobile friendly approach, so that we know this content can be consumed the way that job seekers are really consuming content. And a few of the more kind of meat and potatoes, not quite as fun as the rest of the content, but make sure you've got the support that you need from your provider, and you've got security and privacy on lock, because you're now putting faces, voices, names, titles to videos and video content you're creating. So you want to have that in a very secure and private place.
That's so great. Thank you so much, Jay-Z. We've talked a lot about video. There was a lot of content here. So I just wanted to close out by kind of looking at what some of our top takeaways are when it comes to video. So thinking again, the employer brand. We want to create that deep connection with our candidates. Video is going to allow us to do that from the jump, from the get-go. And it's going to not just create it quicker, it's going to create it deeper, because it's a person-to-person interaction. The other thing we want to think about is incorporating videos into our recruitment marketing efforts in order to capture the attention and imagination of our candidates. It's a lot more immersive. It's a lot more compelling. It moves people through the overall candidate journey a lot quicker, because it's more consumable, it's more relatable, and it tells a deeper story than anything else we're really able to do when it comes to the story of our company. And then finally, going back to that point that Jay-Z made at the beginning about video leaving a lasting impression and the way that video sticks in our minds, this is going to be essential when it comes to attracting and hiring the right candidates, especially in this current landscape where we are all inundated with media and with video all day long. It's going to allow you to sort of rise above your competitors, allow you to stand out, and it's going to stick in that candidate's mind of like, I saw a video about them. I heard a little bit about their culture. Let me look into it more. So overall, video is really the way forward when it comes to the way that we're interacting with our candidates. It's the way forward when it comes to telling our employer brand stories. And it's the way forward when it comes to looking at how we power our media behind our recruitment marketing efforts.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jillian and Jay-Z. Really rich information. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our Senior Marketing Manager, Shannon, and she's going to take some questions from the audience.
Thank you both for sharing your expertise with the audience today. Awesome presentation. And we hope everyone here is going to be walking away with some valuable new insights about videos and how to use them in your TA strategy. But now we're going to be moving into the more interactive segment of our presentation today and taking some questions from the audience about using videos for recruitment. So to get the ball rolling, we'll start with a couple of questions that came through during the presentation, but if you have any burning questions or need clarification on any of the topics we've talked about, it's not too late. So don't hesitate to use the Q&A and submit any questions you have now. First, we'll be answering as many questions as we have time for, but if we can't get to your question today, you can email us at info@recruitics.com or contact us on our website and we'll follow up with you and have an expert get in touch. As a reminder, you can also give thumbs up to the questions that have already been submitted to let us know that you'd be interested in hearing the presenters answer them live. So without further ado, let's move into the first question. Is there a way to use video to engage candidates in the talent pool? These are people that have already expressed interest in our organization, but have not found a role that is a fit.
I'm happy to take that one. Absolutely. So depending on the way you have your talent community set up, whether you're going through email drip campaigns or however you're engaging with them, there's a great way to use video in all of that. So again, leading into maybe a little bit more detail into the organization or the roles, depending on how your talent community is set up. If you're gathering more information from them based on their engagement or based on, any surveys that you're sending out to find out roles that they're interested in or their level of experience, you can tailor that video content to those understandings and then send that out to them to create that engagement. So yes, video is a great way to engage with your existing talent pool and talent community, keeping them warm, keeping them nurtured, and hopefully moving them along through the pipeline.
And I just add, if you're already creating content, get them over to your social channels where that content lives so they can go on that journey with you, because guess where they're at all the time, checking their Insta, their TikTok, their YouTube. So get them linked over there as a part of that email campaign as well.
Yeah, they're already there. So might as well drive them to your channel specifically.
That's a great point about driving to social channels. Really great insight. Next question here. Do you have any tips for making sure your TikTok content comes across as authentic and fun, but while still getting the key info or talking points across?
Oh, Jay-Z, I'd love to hear you start that as, a bit of the TikTok king over here.
I think the trick here is you have to start making content. You've got to start figuring out, you're not going to get it right the first time. The key is you've got to start recording videos and go, wow, this one hit. This one, we got some feedback on, we got some questions, we got some engagement. And then you can start learning, again, how that channel is consuming the content you're putting out about your brand, about the department, the division, the initiative you're running. But you got to start recording videos. It sounds simple, but it's not, to hit that record button and keep putting content in the machine.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think another thing to consider is, depending on your organization, depending on your employees, there is a good chance your employees are already on TikTok, and there's an even better chance that they're already creating content about what their life and what their job is like. Anyone who has spent time just sort of, mindlessly scrolling TikTok has definitely come across, people who work in a warehouse, people who work in some kind of customer service role, just talking about hey guys, join me for a day in my life of working at X. So when you're looking at that content, think about your employees, think about what they might already be creating on their own personal channels. And you can create an employee advocacy program where you are even mining some of that great content that already exists, that's already out there, that's already your employees being advocates for you, and starting to pull that into your own channels as well by engaging directly with those employees and saying, hey, I saw this great video talking about what your life is like as a barista. Could we post that on our channel? Could we use that as well? Because we really love how you captured our culture.
Awesome. And speaking of what your life is like as a barista, our next question, are there any types of roles that you feel are better suited to short form or low production content versus longer form, more high production content?
That's a great question. I think a lot of times what you want to think about is the audience. So who your target demographic is for certain roles and where that content is going to live. So a lot of hourly roles are really great for that shorter form social content. A lot of things where, they're jobs that require a lot of steps, require a lot of labor. Those are things that social content, that day in the life is really, really great. Sometimes the roles that are a little bit more nebulous might be better for that higher production quality. So when you think about more sort of corporate roles, when you're hiring for sales, when you're hiring for marketing, when you're hiring for accountant roles, sometimes that's a better place because you don't have just kind of in the everyday of that job, you don't have kind of those great steps that they go through, but it's more of an overarching story that you're telling. And again, think about your audience, think about where they're going to consume the content, and then think about that platform specifically and what kind of content is best geared towards it.
Awesome. And then regarding the audience, I think this will be the last question that we have time for today. Should I be making video content that targets all generations, or should we be targeting only younger generations with our video content?
It's a good one. I'll tell you, as an elder millennial, and some of those stats Jillian showed us early on, video content's everywhere. So I think, there are opportunities for you to showcase particular content, maybe to a target audience that you've seen a ton of success hiring for in a particular area. And you can sort of target, some of those pieces to go viral with that audience. But I think this content really does span, video content can span the age gap here and really be effective across all demographics.
Yeah, I completely agree. We don't want to shut out any demographics when we're creating video. We know that there are generations and groups that are more likely to engage. So we do want to keep that in mind when we're looking at what we're creating and when we're looking at where we're posting. But really the idea behind all of this is from a broader, more macro scale, is telling the story of who you are as a company, telling the story of your culture, showcasing your employer brand, which is really key for anyone who might be attracted to your organization. That's really where you want to put your focus.
And since Jillian proclaimed me the TikTok king, I'll just circle back and say, keep making content, because that algorithm will decide which of those company stories they're going to show to which person, and they are going to understand them even better than you might in the way that these videos are being showcased. So just keep telling the stories, try some different techniques, try some different, scripts, snippets, stories, those sorts of things, and get them out there and let the algorithm put them in front of your audience.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jay-Z. To date myself yet again, video is not a set it and forget it kind of medium. You want it to be ever evolving. You want to be continually producing, but that doesn't have to be, a huge sort of onus on the organization. You can create content regularly. You can repurpose content and just keep it moving and keep it out there and keep telling that story.
Thank you again to both of you. I think that's all we have time for today. So if we didn't get to your question, again, you can email us at info@recruitics.com or submit a contact form through our website, and we'll connect you with an expert. And as a reminder, you will be receiving a recording of this presentation early next week. Also, keep an eye out for our upcoming webinar this September. We'll be discussing AI and how to incorporate AI technology into your talent acquisition strategies. That should be an exciting one. So more to come on that next month. Again, thank you all for attending this Recruitics webinar and hope to see you in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day.